Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's start the morning with the auditor's report. Okay. In your package, you'll see the financial statement, which shows a beginning 2019 cash balance of $10,224,887.37, with projected miscellaneous revenue and property tax. Our total available is $58,639,082.37. We deduct the encumbrances, the budget, minimum balance, and add in the unused budget that we anticipate. Our beginning net balance for the year was $1,876,533.37. At the February meeting, we granted additional appropriations of $16,675 and reductions of $84.57, leaving uncommitted funds balance going into this meeting of $1,868,315.37. We have one $25,000 appropriation request for the general fund this month for Superior Court 6 pauper. The next page of the report should be the revenue. There's not a lot of revenue changes, significant things in the month of February. Just a couple things to mention. The last line of the first page, the 0410, the County Sheriff miscellaneous receipts. The bulk of that money is TSC Resource Officer. They paid the third and fourth quarters of that, so that was $53,000 of that. $59,000 that was received through the end of February. So that's not a normal occurrence. So the 22.4% received for the year is not going to be terribly out of line. The next page, under 0411, the Sheriff Inmate Housing, we received the August through November of 2018 from DOC. So that's what the $187,000 is. And you can kind of see that generally the fees we receive for services, you get to the early part of the year and maybe you don't have quite as much of that because of the weather or whatever the thing may be. So we're pretty much in line. We have 6.6% of our total revenue received, but of course, no property tax yet this year. The next page of the fund balances. The first one is the general fund, fund number 1,000. Yeah. Our ending balance for the month of February is just about $6.2 million. That's less than the 7.5 minimum balance, but the minimum balance really looks at the end of the year. And again, with property tax not being put in there each month, that usually is under the minimum balance until we get to the end of the year. On the next page, just a couple of them to note. 2580 and 2581. I don't think I've mentioned these for a couple of months. These are the court services funds, and we are over 100,000 in the 2580, which is the active fund where we put most of the money in. All of the current charges are posted to that fund, and then the payroll is coming out there as well. The 2581, that is one that we don't actively use anymore, and there's some delinquent collections that the clerk still collects. And at some point, we can combine those two, and obviously you can see the $150 received for the month, that is getting fairly limited. 4632 is the debt service for the fairgrounds, the reserve fund. And so that is basically money that's held until the last payment, so that number won't change for many, many years. 4710 is the self-insurance fund, the health insurance for the county employees. And again, we did gain a couple $100,000 in that fund, so that continues the good news we have there, as we're at $6.75 million cash there. The 4818, which is the Fairgrounds Construction Fund, so that's where the bond proceeds went, and so as we pay bills constructing the fairgrounds, that money will go down. And I think that is all I have. If there's any questions?
Any questions for Bob? Thank you. Treasurer's report, Jennifer.
Good morning. You should have your report in front of you for the month of February. Total interest for February was $226,508.91. Not a whole lot different in the distribution of the money in the accounts, but February does tend to be the highest month for our interest on investments, and you can see with First Empire, which is now Default Nicholas, was $30,000 for that month, and then Cambridge, which used to be our Morgan Stanley accounts, was at $53,000, so pretty good month for those. Don't have anything really to report on the fund-by-fund distribution, except that, Bob mentioned the construction lit revenue for the fairgrounds, and I had wanted to invest that money into something a little bit more of a longer term. Trust Indiana came out with a program where they have 3-month, 6-month, 9-month, and 1-year investment pools, which are different than their overnight pools, but their highest rate there was 2.65. So with what we're getting on it at 2.6, I just felt it best to leave it where it is for now. So also I asked for quotes on CDs yesterday, and 1 year came in at 2.48. So again, I would say that our banking account interest is doing really well for us. So unless there are any questions, that's all I have.
When do we decide on the placement of the money in these different loan institutions? When does that come up again?
It'll be about a year and a half from now. We just signed, we do it every 2 years, we do an RFP, but we just signed an extension with the primary bank.
Okay. Shucks. Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you. Is there any public comment on today's agenda items? Hearing none, we'll move to the consent agenda. Are there any items that need to be pulled from the consent agenda? If not, I'll entertain a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the consent agenda as written.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Basham, seconded by Councilwoman Stonebreaker to approve the consent agenda as submitted. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Additional appropriations.
Mr. Chair, I move approval of the general fund appropriation for Superior Court 6 in the amount of $20,000, which is different than the $25,000 submitted.
We have a second.
Second.
Thank you. A motion by Councilman Winger, seconded by Councilwoman Stonebreaker to approve the general fund appropriation for $20,000 for proper counsel.
Judge Morrissey couldn't be here. Charlotte did join us this morning. I'd asked her to step up and just go through the basics on this.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
For the 2019 budget, we had $2,000, and about January the 17th, I had submitted bills that exceeded that amount. To date, I have $10,154.80 worth of bills for public counsel that need to be paid, which is why we had asked for the additional appropriation.
At budget time, in 16 and 17, the traffic court only spent about $2,000 plus or minus on pauper counsel, and then the rules changed for conflict, and it stepped down into the traffic court in some of their cases, and so they exceeded $30,000 last year in real expenses, something on that order, correct?
$34,097.
Right. So at budget time, we added conflict attorneys in the PD office, which will hopefully alleviate or eliminate a lot of this. And in anticipation of that, we chose not to budget any more than the $2,000 just to pay bills as they come through. They may come through, so these are all services that were expended in 2018, as I understood it from Judge Morrissey. So rather than going 25, we may, I don't know, we'll see, but he's in agreement that we'll see where we go, paying this $10,000 and invoices in hand, have another $10,000, look at it on a quarterly basis thereafter.
All right.
Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay.
So in the request, it said it anticipate an additional appropriation within the next quarter, so are there more of this 2018 need that's in there?
It depends on whether or not the new public defenders, whether the conflict is going to them, so that will be paid under that salary, or whether we'll still have some public defender conflicts that will be submitting bills. I don't know at this point.
So Mike didn't say specifically, but he thought that the most of 2018 services have been invoiced through this. There could be some more.
Okay, that's why he said he's
Yeah.
not sure.
Correct. But then going forward, and we'll loop back with PD's office, they obviously are bound on how much they can, put on individual attorneys, so they'll get as many of them on these cases as they can.
Any other discussion? All right, we have a motion on the floor to approve $20,000 for proper counsel. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Superior Court 3.
Mr. President, I move to approve Superior Court 3 Court Improvement Program 8634
As presented.
Second.
There's a motion by Councilwoman Stonebreaker, seconded by Councilman Winger, to approve the Court Improvement Fund 8634 grant appropriation for $1,000. Don't see anyone here from the court. This is a grant appropriation. I have not talked with the judge about this.
Yeah, I don't know anything else
Any
about this one.
questions? There's a motion on the floor. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passes. Prosecutor, Mr. Harrington.
Mr. Chair, I move approval of the grant appropriation for Fund 8271 as presented.
Second.
That was-
Winger was first.
Motion by Councilman Winger, seconded by Councilwoman Vernon, to approve the HTCU Fund 8271 grant appropriation for $147,474. Discussion.
Good morning. First, I want to say I hope everyone enjoys the second most holiday week in the calendar year. That would be St. Patrick's Week, and have a happy and safe St. Patrick's Day holiday. On the high-tech crime
Keep that in
fund.
mind. We'll keep that in mind.
This is, I think, our fourth year we've gotten the high-tech crime unit grant, and we're fortunate to get it. It pays for one of our staff, and it pays for all the travel and training and all of the software that we're required to keep up to date. Most of us, the high-tech crime unit kind of works in behind the scenes, but some of the major cases they worked on last year that led to successful convictions were the double murder conviction of Franklin Navarrete, the murder conviction in Warren County where Prosecutor John Larson asked for their assistance to get through the phones, which basically dispelled the defense theory. Sean Collins, level 1, the highest level of child molesting. Douglas Felix, again, level 1, child molesting. Manfred Gerton, rape. Timothy Jackson, armed robbery. Greg Hooker, child pornography. Michael Mitchell, armed robbery, West Lafayette. These are just a few of about the 40 cases that successfully gave us the information we needed to either win at trial, or the majority of these they plead guilty because they cannot dispute the scientific evidence behind the cell phones and the forensics. So Tippecanoe County, the high-tech crime unit, which is in conjunction with Purdue University, is one of the leading high-tech crime units in the country. And we're very appreciative of this grant.
Any questions? There's a motion on the floor. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Community Corrections, Jason.
Mr. President, I move to approve the Community Corrections 2019 salary statement for part-time work crew / corrections officer as presented.
Second.
Motion by Councilwoman Stonebreaker, seconded by Councilwoman Vernon to approve the Community Corrections 2019 salary statement as presented. Questions, discussion?
We're just looking to bring up the work crew position that's currently $12 an hour to $14.50, which will match our part-time correction officer pay. It's paid out a user fee, so it's nothing out of the general fund.
Any questions? We have a motion on the floor. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passes. Thank you. Sheriff.
Mr. President, I move to approve the ordinance 2019-06-CL, amending salary ordinance Tippecanoe County Sheriff Deputy lateral transfer policy as presented.
Second.
It's a motion by Councilwoman Stonebreaker, seconded by Councilwoman Vernon to approve ordinance 2019-06-CL, amending the salary ordinance for Tippecanoe County Sheriff Deputy lateral transfer policy. Mr. Sheriff, good morning.
Good morning. I have to pull this down because what we're trying to do is something we've never had at our department. It's a lateral transfer program policy. It's where if we can get officers from other agencies to show an interest in our department and transfer over, they already have the experience, so we don't have to spend a year where they're, in a sense, useless. They're going through training. They're really not taking any calls for a year. What this program would allow us to do is market our department in a sense, sell us, and offer compensation and pay, if you will, for the amount of time they spend in another agency. So, for example, we have 6 openings. We're trying to fill at least 4 of them right now. One of those is a former deputy that left last year. He's coming back. He'll start on the road next week. So this doesn't affect him, but what it would do is these other 2 openings we have, if we have officers from another department come in and say they have 4 years on, they're going to take a pay cut coming to our agency, and they're aware of that. But the ones we have talked to said they're willing to take that pay cut if it's not so great because they'd like to work for the Sheriff's Department. This would allow us to compete with the surrounding agencies. Obviously, we don't get paid as much as they do, but it kind of helps us sell our department a little bit, bring us into the future. We've never had this program.
And so you already answered my question, but I want to put it on the record that it affects 2.
There's 2 current deputies right now, and if you look, that sheet I handed you earlier, because of these positions we have open right now at the end of the year, we'll have $47,972.23 left. If we get the 2 current deputies up, maxed out, because they've been at other agencies before, that's a total for the year of $5,864.60. There's still a surplus of $42,000 or $41,000 and some change. So there's still a surplus there. So getting those guys up to where they would be would still give us a surplus. If we have with the 2 openings, if we had other officers come in and say they have 4 years and they're maxed out, you're still going to have a surplus. I don't know exactly what that would be, but there would be a surplus in pay for them. And they'd be able to work the streets in a few weeks instead of a year.
Bob, 2 questions. When you're saying surplus, there would not be a budget impact then for 2019?
Doesn't seem to be, no.
Okay. And then secondly, do the other local departments have such a policy?
Yeah, West Lafayette does. Chief Family's had some things going on. We couldn't get a response from him, but he thought he had a program like this.
Okay.
We just don't. I know West Lafayette does, and they do some other things with sign-on bonuses and all that, and I'm not coming to you for that.
Great. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions?
So instead of the year, when they're just basically training and we're not utilizing them, so you get somebody in now, how quickly will they move into, being useful?
It depends. They go through a partial FTO process, but if you take somebody, say, just the Lafayette Police Department that knows the computer system, knows how our courts work, and they know all that, you're talking a few weeks. Literally get them in a car and show them the ropes. They understand the city. It's just moving out in the county. So you go from 52 weeks down to 4 to 6,
Okay.
2 to 4.
Other questions? We have a motion on the floor, and this is an ordinance, so it requires a roll call vote.
Metzger,
Aye.
Vernon,
Aye.
Basham,
Aye.
Stonebreaker,
Aye.
Winger. Aye. Ordinance 2019-06CL passes 5-0 on first reading.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President, I move to suspend the rules and approve ordinance 2019-06-CL on first reading.
Second reading.
Second reading.
You got it.
Thank you.
All right, we have a motion to suspend the rules and consider ordinance 2019-06-CL on second reading. Any questions or discussion? There is a motion. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Do you need a roll call?
No, we need a motion. To approve it on second reading.
Oh, got it, all right. Mr. President, I move to approve ordinance 2019-06-CL on second reading.
Second.
Correct.
Sorry about that. All right, we have a motion on the floor from Councilwoman Stonebreaker, seconded by Councilwoman Vernon. Now is there any discussion? We have a motion? Sir?
Winger. Aye. Stonebreaker.
Aye.
Basham.
Aye.
Vernon.
Aye.
Metzger.
Aye.
Ordinance 2019-06CL passes 5-0 on second and final reading.
Thank you. Turn the page. Commissioners.
I would like to make a motion for the budget reduction for the Cuban Cap Fund 1138.
Second.
Motion by Councilwoman Vernon, seconded by Councilman Basham to approve the requested reduction in Cume Cap Fund 1138 for $52,600.
This is basically the exact same thing we did last month. We're trying to take the maintenance and get it in the exact categories. So this is the one we forgot about, supplies and cleaning. So it's the exact same thing we did last month. We took a mass amount and we're spreading it out, putting it in certain categories, what we're really doing. That way it's easier for the maintenance director to follow exactly where he's spending and what's going on in the whole category.
Any questions? We have a motion on the floor. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes.
I would like to make a motion to approve the appropriation in Cume Cap Fund 1138 as presented.
Second.
A motion by Councilwoman Vernon, seconded by Councilman Basham to approve the requested appropriation in Cume Cap Fund 1138 for $52,600. Any discussion? Hearing none, there's a motion on the floor. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Committee reports. Okay. Hearing none. Unfinished business. We just have an announcement on the agenda. Budget hearings will begin on August 27th at 8:30 a.m.
And if I could add on to that a little bit, we talked about this with a couple of council people earlier. It's about time to send out the packets to the departments about the 2020 budget. One thing that I would like to have on the calendar, if I can, is we normally have an evening public hearing, and what we kind of discussed was the possibility of Thursday, September the 5th at 6 o'clock. And I don't have to have this confirmed this meeting, but I'd like to have it at least by next month, or else I can just leave it off my calendar too. But
That's the Thursday night before our September council meeting on September 10th, when we would approve the budget on final reading, so we do need to have it prior to that. So. Does anyone know of any conflicts with September 5? Hearing none, let's go with it.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All right, Mr. Byers.
thought it'd be interesting, these are some articles I just want to pass out to you.
Just a hint, you need a new copy machine?
No. This is a book dating from 1932 to 1936 of fairgrounds. There's some other things we found where we can go clear back to 1929, and I think coming all the way up. But some of the headlines have been cut off on the one side, but the one sheet where you see our CRD's promises speed construction says 4-H clubs to have floral hall for exhibits. Now this is April of '36, and how fast they're trying to put together fairgrounds, our old fairgrounds now, as they consider call it old fairgrounds. I thought it was interesting. 550,000 square feet of lumber was brought in to build the old fairgrounds. The other one is, about the projects coming through. I think, if you look at the very bottom paragraph on that one where 4-H Club girls cheered by project, the fairgrounds buildings, which will consist of the cattle barn, coliseum, pig and lamb barn, horse barn, and girls floral building, which we now call the home ec building, does not necessarily have to be used exclusively by the 4-H Club boys and girls. As a matter of fact, it is hoped that the old fairgrounds will become a center for all community activity and that all citizens will have to benefit equally from its renovation. Doing the same thing 80 years later. So I guess if you really want to see some of this stuff, it's really pretty interesting. You go through it. On my notes, for your FYI, today at 11 o'clock is the opening of the bids for the main building. So that's where we're going to find out where we're still in. So it sounds like we have some very good competition going on out there, so hopefully it works out on our bids. On April 9th, we'll be opening bids for the 5th floor courthouse HVAC system. We found out that system is not functioning as well as we'd hope, so we do have money that was set aside to need it last year for $500,000 to work in the courthouse, and we also have some money left over from working on the roof, so that should be able to take care of this project where we're looking at it. As explained, Roland called and talked to me the other day where other projects coming down the pipeline is the courthouse, the HVAC from 4th floor on down, but it's something that we can do per year. We can stretch it out. It's not going to have to be done today. It's a project we did not know about until all of a sudden we really got into this 5th floor. So, as he asked, we asked department heads, is there something out there that we don't know about? Is there something happening, blah, blah, blah. We didn't know about this puppy. And so, just want to fill you on that. Tonight, we have 15 local kids. We're going to be going to Oda, Japan as our sister city, and we get to meet some of them tonight. So, I'll be putting this book over here if anyone want to glance at it or whatever else. And there's a lot more boxes, trust me. It's very interesting. I think the one thing, and I showed this to John a little bit this morning, here's a newspaper article showing Floyd Weaver, West Point, Indiana, wins a national trophy at the International Livestock Show. So, and this is dated November 32. I mean, it's very interesting, the history and stuff we're finding here. But other than that, any questions, anyone?
Dave, do you know how many bids you have to open today?
We are thinking the last ever guess is 6 to 7.
Wow. Great.
That had asked for packets that are looking at. We're thinking of a couple of them.
You said 6 or 7?
6 to 7 is what
No,
we're...
6
We thought you said 67.
That'll be even better. Yeah, 6 to 7.
Okay.
And we know 2 of them are really keeping their pins. We were supposed to open these last week, but we had a couple companies saying, could you give us just 4 or 5 more days so we could really get their pencils nailed down, so we gave them 4 or 5 days. So like I said, hopefully it's the big bill is what it's going to be. So, any other questions?
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you. The public comment. Karen Mitchell.
Morning, council. I have a couple of handouts I'm going to pass out. I believe you already got one.
Yes, they did. Thank you.
This is our annual report. You received one already.
Thank you.
Moving too fast. You like one?
Jenny.
Good morning. We had our annual Extension Board dinner just a couple weeks ago, and I'm happy to say that we had 3 council members there, as well as a couple, the sheriff and a couple other elected officials. So it was a really good turnout. We had a great time, and it was at Judy's Catering this time, so it was actually a really nice meal, and it was comfortable. We heard from Dr. Bo Ballou, who is our Community Development Program Director, who highlighted some of our new programs that are coming out. But the Extension Board report that you just received kind of goes through each of the educators and what they've been up to throughout the year, as well as at the back of it, it will show you some upcoming programs, so if you're interested in seeing what we have coming up. But I also handed you a sheet that is our new educator snapshot. So we have 2 new educators from the last 6 months. Amanda Galloway, you met a few months ago, and then we have Jenny Monarch McGuire, who is our new 4-H educator. So I'm going to give her just a minute to introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. So I come from Du Bois County and spent the last 3.5 years as a 4-H educator there. And I just recently transferred here to Tippecanoe County, and I'm very excited to be here, and I look forward to working with all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions for us?
Good job.
Mr. Byers.
I will at least introduce the new Deputy Director of the Auditors.
I was going to do
You were
that.
supposed to do that. Oh, you were there already? Okay. I'll let Bob do it.
As maybe some of you, or most or all of you know, Jeremy Deal, my chief deputy, he has left us now, and he's now the deputy controller at the city of Lafayette, starting yesterday. And Kaylee Kerwick I picked her out as my new chief deputy, so she's going to get sworn in on Friday by Judge Person. So Kaylee is the one who will be smiling pretty quickly here. There! She's been with the auditor's office. Jennifer hired her back about 5 years ago, so she will do a good job, I know. So you'll be dealing with her somewhat as time goes on towards budgets.
Very good. Any other comments? Welcome, Kaylee. If there's nothing else, I'll accept the motion.
Move to adjourn.
Move.
We are adjourned.
Haley.
It is not a new track record.
I know, it's not.
32 minutes.
I'm like, what is going on?